119. There is, in my view, no relevant previous pattern of criminal offending. Section 25(3)(k), the views of the sentencing court at the time the sentence of imprisonment was imposed on the offender. So we don't know at this point which sentencing court, and I assume it's the neighbourhood dispute, which would be no pattern of criminal offence because he's just having a bargee with the neighbour. So no relevant previous pattern leads to the question of why are these beliefs wrong? Why are these beliefs in any way wrong and what threat are they to the state if this is the action that the state's willing to go to stop someone having these beliefs? 118. The defendant failed to comply with his previous CCO. His failure was tied to his beliefs that were entrenched, it seems, at the time. It is hard to predict whether the defendant would comply with the proposed demanding combination of conditions proposed for the interim order or the extended order. He may, but the real question is whether there is a proper statutory basis to impose them. Statutory basis to impose them. Statutory basis to impose them. The offender's criminal history, including prior convictions and findings of guilt in respect of offences committed in New South Wales or elsewhere, and any pattern of offending behaviour disclosed by that history. Statutory basis to impose them. Statutory. Right, he did fail to comply with the CCO that was related to his neighbourhood dispute, wherein he thought the actions of having question with the court itself at the very end of said order might open the court's eyes to something else. But instead, the police decided to surround him in said courthouse and prey upon him, leading to these actions instead. And that's the thing that this court won't explain. That's the thing that this Attorney General won't explain. And that's the thing the Attorney General of Australia, Christian Porter, went very, very, very silent over. 117. I accept the submissions of the defendant in respect of the potential role of the CTO in managing the risk of relevant offending. I consider the recognizance to have a lesser role, given it will expire in March 2022 and it cannot be renewed. There's some role potentially in reducing the likelihood he will relevantly offend. Section 25(3)(h), the likelihood that an offender will comply with the obligations of an extended supervision order. Section 25(3)(i), previous compliance with obligations under parole conditions. What I find interesting here is this Commonwealth recognizance can't be renewed after March 2022. So, what is this Commonwealth recognizance? What is cognition? What is cognitive? What is recognitive? What is reprogramming? What is correcting? What is a correction? So lots of questions to be asked in relation to a belief and a doctrine or scripture. 116. The report of Mr. Bagley adds little to the question of risk other than setting out and advocating his views as to how the defendant can be managed in the community and why he sees the multiplicity of proposed conditions to be necessary. Multiplicity of proposed conditions. The HRTO Unit Management Report of Detective Sergeant James is in the same category. Detective Sergeant James, Mr. Bagley. So these have obviously both put forward a report based on other people's reports, based on other people's opinions, based on hearsay, that seem to be formulated in a language that would ask to put someone within the auspices of their state doctrine. Section 25(3)(g) options, if any, available if the offender is in the community, whether or not under supervision, that might reduce the likelihood of him reoffending over time. So there's a first-time offender that's been dragged before a court and then pushed into a jail, and then pushed straight into a health system, then pushed straight under drugs, then pushed into a mental health, and then being branded and tarred and feathered, and then being thrown under a bus, and then being dragged out from under that bus and put back before a court and told, look at this failure of the community who we dragged out of the community in the first place, and can we monitor him some more and give him some more drugs so he continues to look like this? So that's the report of Mr. Bagley and the HRTO Unit Management Detective Sergeant James. Pay attention to the names of the people that have done this along the way.